Hello MLB Showdown Nation, this is your guru Colby Talifas, and this is our How to Play MLB Showdown video segment. This is the 8th part of our series. In the first part of our series we talked about the first roll of an at-bat, which is called the pitch, and how that determines whether we use the batter or the pitcher's chart. The second part of the series we talked about the second roll in an at-bat sequence, which is the swing, which produces a result for the at-bat using the chart that we selected with the first roll. For the third part of the series, we talked about how the batter and runners advance during hits and walks and getting on base. For the fourth part, we talked about how batters and runners advance during outs when outs are recorded. For the fifth part of our series, we talked about defense and all the different positions in MLB Showdown and all your different options for defense. For our sixth part, we talked about how to make substitutions, the 3 different types of substitutions in MLB Showdown: defensive replacements, pinch runners, and pinch hitters. And for our 7th part, we talked about pitchers' innings pitched and how they become tired and different tired rules and how that affects the game. Today we're going to be talking about the lineup and how the lineup works in MLB Showdown. This is not a how to put together a lineup. That is your own choice. We talk about that plenty of other places on the blog. But for this, we're going to be talking about how the lineup works and how to do different things in the lineup and to properly run it so that you don't do embarrassing things during the game. We're going to go down to our little mini field here. This is the traditional setup right here for a lineup. This is your 9 batters. Sorry for being zoomed out, trying to get everybody in there. They are put in order of your batting order, not based on their defense or anything else that you might want to do. This is your batting order, 1 to 9. And your opponent will be over here with his team. He will put out his pitcher when you're batting. We will say this is the top of the first inning. You're the away team, and you send up Carlos Quentin. We then have a roll for the pitch done by the defense. We then have a roll for a result done by the offense. We're going to say for the first case that Carlos Quentin got out. In this instance, Carlos Quentin comes back to the bench and he is flipped over. Note that we're going to put him flipped over here. This is the way, as you look through the order, you should be able to figure out outs. So Ken Griffey Jr. comes up against Halladay, which I'm not sure ever may have happened when Halladay was in Toronto, but he also gets out. And then Giambi comes up, and sadly, Jason Giambi will also get out. We now have 3 outs in our inning, and the way once the inning ends, you come back and you unflip everybody, but you leave the 3rd out flipped over. What this does is this easily lets you know if you're not keeping stats or anything like that. This is an easy way to tell this was the last person to record an out, and that means the next inning starts. We come here, the pitcher will come out, who in National League rules, the pitcher is part of your lineup, and he will come out and he will pitch his inning. We then come back, and Roy Halladay comes back for the top of the 2nd. Remember, first thing you should do before you even put your batter out there is flip over your out. So Jason Giambi is now flipped over. We were talking about the 2nd inning. And we will have Matt Halladay come up, and he will also get out. And then Casey Blake will come up, and he will get on base. And Edgar Renteria will ground into a double play or hit a ground ball, which means the man on first is out. He is here. He recorded the out even though he was not the batter because he was the one who actually got out. But they did not get Edgar Renteria at first base, so he is at first base. And Mark Ellis comes up. Mark Ellis also gets on base. Eli Marrero comes up and he will get out. This is an interesting thing to remember. Okay, so Eli Marrero, first thing you do is what you should do to keep track of everybody is Eli Marrero comes back because he is the batter. He fills in his spot, which is the last open spot. We now have these 2 vacant spots, and sometimes people like to pick up both guys, both of their hitters, and just put them back, which occasionally, if you're not careful about it, you can put guys in the wrong order. An easy way to prevent that is always imagine everybody was circling the bases in order. Even after the 2nd out, just run Edgar Renteria around, run Mark Ellis around. You don't necessarily have to make the motion, but just pick them up and who is closest to home plate and put them furthest in the lineup, because at no point could Mark Ellis get in front of Edgar Renteria. He will always be behind him no matter where they are on base. Mark Ellis will always be behind him, or they will come in together. If both of them score, it's important to remember that you bring them in order, and that keeps people in order. This is the last little tip on how to not bat out of order, because I was a third out. We're going to flip everyone over. Eli Marrero will stay flipped over here to mark us. Roy Halladay will come out, and Todd Stottlemyre will go, and he will pitch his inning. When he comes back, sometimes people get a little excited and they forget, or they unflip early, and they forget that the pitcher spot in a National League spot does have to bat. But if you're not careful, you have the potential to flip him over, and if you're being too quick, you may send Carlos Quentin up without sending Stottlemyre into bat, which means you would bat out of order. Each league has their own rules on how this would take place. For us, it is for every time you rolled for a batter who is out of order, and we eventually catch up to it, we go back, and every person who was out of order struck out. So that is how that does up until the end of an inning. So assuming an inning was ended, that is how that'll work. The biggest thing is to make sure that everybody is doing this properly and keeping track of their order, because that'll prevent any sort of mishaps, which brings about really unfun discussions and fights over a card game. So it's just a matter of being systematic and moving your guys, recording your outs properly, and making sure that you're having a systematic way to bring people and put them back in order. It's very consistent with regular baseball. This shouldn't be too difficult, but if you're not intentional about it, it is easy to slip cards in the wrong spots and potentially bat out of order. Hopefully this has been helpful for you, and this will be definitely more helpful when you start playing games and seeing some of these mistakes be done against you. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and remember to play for the card.